Hi, whoops, we're going to start.
Wait, we're going to wait. 3, 2, 1. Good morning. My name is Felice. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
Good morning. My name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
And this is our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery spiritual recovery meeting.
It is.
And we're glad that you guys are all here.
So the reason we get together is we are, I am an emotional overeater. I'm a binger, I'm a purger. I'm a food addict and a drug addict. I'm an addict.
I'm a drug addict, an alcoholic, an anorexic, and all my friends are in recovery, basically.
Mine too.
Yeah.
So we get together because personally I walked into the rooms because I was full of shame, guilt, and pain, and I just couldn't live the way that I was living anymore, and it took me 42 years to get into the rooms.
And I love that you said that you were full of shame, because I thought you were going to say that you were full of shit, which is basically how we were. So we walked around lying to ourselves and lying to everybody else because we didn't want to see actually who we were.
Right.
Or fix who we were, because we were so used to being who we were that it was easier to stay there instead of fixing whatever the problem was that led us to our addiction.
Well, I'm an addict, so I was looking for the quick fix. I thought that I could either get the pill or the solution, and it would just happen overnight, and it would be done.
And I got the pills, but it didn't work. It had the opposite effect for some reason, so that didn't work out.
Yeah, so the reason we actually started getting together is part of being in recovery is being in service.
Yes, it's being of service. Correct.
And by us being of service to others and reaching out to others helps us stay in recovery, and it also helps keep us authentic and help us see when we're lying. And lying seems to be the topic of the week.
Yes, it is. And actually it also keeps us, like you said, it keeps us close to our community. And so it's the peeps in our community that know us pretty much so inside and out. Those are the people that can tell, even when we're lying to ourselves, that we're lying to ourselves, and then in turn lying to everybody else. So staying tight with the community, that connection is what helps us to stay clean. And so are we okay on there?
They can't hear.
They can't hear us.
They can hear.
Okay.
I mean, we can't hear them. They can hear us.
Okay. All right. So good morning to everybody out there and in the room. Yesterday we had our recovery workshop yesterday. Very, very interesting. I think that there were a lot of breakthroughs yesterday. I think that our clients got to look at themselves, and we got to look at each other a little bit differently. And we had a whole lot of telling the truth yesterday. And yesterday we talked about what you guys call slipping, which I don't know why it makes me crazy when people say slip. I guess because my relapses are relapses, and I pay the consequences dearly. Myself spiritually, and then out there in the real world. When I relapsed, there were a whole lot of consequences, and had everybody not known that I relapsed, then I would still most probably be in active addiction.
So I think slipping for me in the beginning was when I slipped and that cookie fell in my mouth.
Yeah, well, and that, that happens. That happens.
That happens, yeah. And it sounds cute in my mind, and then I can justify it, and it doesn't sound serious. And I was thinking about that last night, and when I started dealing with my kids with ADHD and starting to look at different medications, one of the things that became one of my concerns is that people start self-medicating, and we get so much information about diets and what works and what doesn't work. And part of my obsession, part of being a food addict is obsessing about stuff. So it becomes a mental obsession for me that when I can start swapping this for that, and my whole day becomes a whole crazy chatter, that if I'm not eating white wheat flour and I'm eating almond flour and I'm swapping this and I'm swapping that, then it becomes cute slips, because do you know what? I slipped on the almond flour and fell into the wheat flour for a second, and it becomes a game that becomes part of that whole mind game, which leads me down that same road, because I'm still lying to myself that the real issue isn't really about the food, it's the reasons why I start picking up in the first place.
Yeah, and the fact that you said that you're lying, that's the whole thing. And so before the slip comes the lie. Before that slip comes the behavior, where we're in the midst of that addictive behavior, and where we're excusing whatever it is that we're going to do by calling it a slip. So I'm going to let you guys know, we talk about addiction being the end result, the food addiction or the drugs or alcohol or whatever, the obesity being the end result of addictive behavior. And there's something behind that addictive behavior. And when we don't recognize what's behind that addictive behavior, we don't get clean. And the first part, I think, of that addictive behavior, one of the first things that we start doing is lying to ourselves. And you guys, when we say we slip in Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, there ain't no such thing as a slip. If you use, you use. If you have some clean time and you use, you've relapsed. And so we also talk about how with food addiction, how even you guys who are food addicts or emotional overeaters or bingers or purgers still don't think that your addiction is as bad as my addiction is. And that lie is the lie that you tell yourself that actually helps to keep you in active addiction.
And that's the part that we hang on to, because when I'm in the rooms in Alcoholics Anonymous and people say, do not pick up alcohol, they don't go, don't pick up beer or whiskey. They go, don't pick up alcohol. If you go to NA, they go, don't pick up drugs. There will only be one thing that defeats your recovery or you in recovery, and that's drugs. Okay?
Right. Well, in NA, though, they do say alcohol is a drug, but they don't say potato chips can be a drug.
Right, and they don't go, you can smoke marijuana, but you can't pick up heroin.
Exactly.
When it comes to food, we don't go, food is a drug. We go, well, do you know what? There's certain foods that we can and we can't eat because those become my trigger foods, and we start making it cute.
And we use that great excuse, well, everyone has to eat. I hate that. You know, that makes me crazy, right? When people say that. Everyone has to eat. Yes, but everybody doesn't have to eat so that they've gained an extra 200 pounds. People who have to eat don't do that.
And I think what we also forget is that when our addiction speaks, when we come into the rooms, all of us are sick. I mean, it's the reason why we step into the rooms. And the disease starts in our thinking. It really is a thinking disease.
Absolutely.
And when we're constantly in that state, our addiction is speaking to us. It's telling us why it's okay to do certain things. And addicts just do really crazy things because when we're in active addiction, we just do things and justify doing things thinking that it's okay. And it's actually our addiction speaking. So for us to be able to think clearly, we've got to clear the brain. And part of that is abstaining and not picking up that drug, that whatever that drug looks like, to be able to get that clearer thinking. But during that time, we are still lying to ourselves because we are letting go of so many different things between the emotions and between the ways and dealing with the feelings and the attachments that we've had to these things that are our foods, and we're getting advice from people all around us on the internet of things that are okay and not okay, and we're still in exactly the same space instead of going, you know what, this works if we stick to a program that works and we listen and do what we're told.
Right. You know, in A, they say, you know, that as long as this path is followed, you know that you can stay clean. And I'm going to tell you, spiritual principle-wise, behind any of the 12-step programs, the spiritual principle behind the first step is always honesty. And so when we talk about slipping, we're going to talk about being truthful to ourselves, being true to ourselves. And not using that word slipping so that it makes it look more, you know, it looks nicer. Oh, I slipped. No, you used, man, you used. Like, as long as I'm saying I slipped, it's like a little, oh, I slipped, as opposed to, you know what? Yesterday I used, today I'm talking about it. I'm going to get back on that path and do the best that I can to do the best that I can, right? Owning it. That's the first, the principle behind that first step is owning up to our own behaviors. Forgiving ourselves, because whatever happened yesterday, forgiving ourselves and moving forward. But until we tell the truth, there's no reason for us to move forward. Right?
I think that you and I have really got off talking a lot. Can we check in with the room?
No way.
See where everyone is, because there's been a lot going on. I know emotionally for people doing the workshop, for myself. You know, the interesting thing is stepping into recovery is having emotions. I never had emotions for 42 years. I numbed them. I didn't want to feel them. And all of a sudden they start coming up and they start bombarding you, and it becomes an interesting process the minute you start working on yourself. So I just thought, let's check in.
Let's check in. And do you think that if we stop this recording,
no, they can hear us.
Oh,
they can hear us now, yeah.
Yeah, can we hear you?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. You want to check in?
So check in.
Check in, Karen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfectly.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually, I made it through yesterday and so far today, not using and also not overeating on the things that even I can
Good.
eat. So
Good.
I'm feeling really pretty good about that.
Good. Very good. Yeah, and so what I'm going to ask you to do, or what I'm going to challenge you to do, that from now on, because you know we say that you don't relapse until you have recovery, right? So if I abstain one day and then I use the next day and abstain one day, I'm in active addiction and I'm doing my best to stop at that moment, or doing whatever it is. Stop at that moment. So what I'm going to ask you to do, your challenge is going to be that when you feel like picking up, to reach out.
Okay.
Just to reach out, text somebody, call somebody, do something, reach out and see if somebody can pull you back from the ledge. Because you're going to feel a whole lot better, and that gives the community a chance to be of service to you as well.
Okay.
And you reaching out like that is actually you being of service to somebody else who's struggling at that moment. So thank you for your honesty. Jess, you want to check in?
Sure. I had a good day yesterday. I shared on my gratitude list. I got a sponsor yesterday.
Oh, good girl.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So that's exciting. And I met her in AA, but she has history of binging, purging, compulsive overeating stuff too. So,
Very good.
but yeah, it was a good day.
Very good. Oh, I'm proud of you. Good girl. Good to see you this morning.
You
Good
too.
morning. Are you awake?
No,
No.
I'm just tired,
Okay.
but good.
You feel okay today? Because we went through a lot of stuff yesterday, so a lot of emotional stuff yesterday.
I'm good.
You feeling okay? All right, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I called you out.
I know.
So are you hating me today? Are you okay?
No, I don't.
You don't?
You don't.
I don't hate her. I
Oh.
hate you. I'm alright. I'm not like, you know, I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, so it's really hard, right?
yes.
Yeah, it's so hard, and it's
What's hard?
it's so hard. So yesterday we talked about Allison not being clean, right? We talked about either overeating, or because I don't think you eat the foods that you're not supposed to eat, right? You're just
Right.
an overeater, and I shouldn't have said just. You're overeating, and that overeating will eventually, if you keep it up, put you back to where you were. And so remember, it's not that you're overeating, it's why are you overeating,
Yes.
right? And so that's what we're gonna get to. And so in the workshop yesterday, we did a lot of work about that. And listen, to have to say it out loud to yourself, we started today by talking about honesty. And so
Yeah.
having to say it out loud, you hearing it yourself and having to say it out loud to the rest of us, it's a lot. Emotionally, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, for me, when I had to tell everybody, when I relapsed in the rooms every single day, because this is what my sponsor had told me to do, every single day for the first 30 days, I raised my hand in front of everybody that knew me and knew that I had 7 years clean before. And every single day I said, today I have 1 day clean. Today I have 2 days clean. Today, to get through that ego bullshit. Because as long as I'm walking around in ego, as long as what's important to me is your opinion of me, as opposed to my own opinion of myself, and me being truthful with myself, that keeps me in active addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I have to put it out there, it allows me to be honest with me and start working through whatever it is that I need to start working through so that I can be walking in recovery. Because remember, if we're lying, we're not using that spiritual principle of honesty. And if we're not being honest, honesty is the basis of recovery, you guys, right? Honesty, we say we're only as sick as our secrets. So secrets are actually lies that we're telling ourselves that we're not saying out loud because we're ashamed.
So when you're in the rooms of AA, you actually get chips, or in OA, you get chips to donate. So that shows clean time. And the reason they do that is because you're actually gambling with your life, and that's why they use chips. My first 30 days in recovery, I never picked up a chip. I was so egotistical, and you even said to me, when I said to you I didn't do it, you go, oh, wow.
Wow.
And the reason I relapsed is because my ego kicked in, and I thought I've got this nailed. So it's always that the humility and the ego that are constantly at play, and the longer we stay in recovery and we work on it, the greater chance there is of us staying in recovery. And the minute we step out of it and stop doing the things we're supposed to do is the point when our ego kicks in and we start thinking, we've got this nailed and I've got this, and then there's a greater chance of relapse.
Yeah, there's always that chance of relapse. And as long as we're lying, we'll stay in relapse. As long as we're not, even if we know and we're scared, and we're still going to stay in relapse mode because we're not telling the truth. And if we're not telling the truth, we're hiding how we feel, right? We're walking around in fear. What happens if somebody knows? Maybe somebody's going to find out. Maybe you're going to find out and you're going to tell somebody. Maybe, they'll notice. Maybe I'll gain a couple of pounds. Maybe, as long as you have to think that, why am I doing this? And I really don't want to overeat, but I'm overeating at night and I'm not sharing it. As long as you're doing that, you're staying in that chaotic, active addiction mode. And so if you're talking about it, no matter how long it takes for you to talk about it, you're stepping toward your recovery. And you're going to be happier, right? Because you're not going to be holding so much inside. Okay? So thank you yesterday for being truthful with me. I really appreciate it. We talked after. I really appreciate that.
No, I
It's
thank
super
you
important.
as well. It's definitely I still get thinking about it. I still get very anxious because I'm also like, you're right. It's the ego where I'm like, oh man, you're right. Like even like you said, even though it's just overeating, which it isn't just.
Of course.
It's a big major red flag and an issue
Right.
that will definitively, it is a fact, lead me back down to where I was before.
It absolutely
There's no
will.
sugarcoating that at all.
Good
Isn't
expression, by the
weighing and
way.
measuring how? I mean, that's the thing that keeps me from doing it.
No.
Doesn't it keep you from doing it?
It does
And
when
it
you're in
helps-
recovery.
Yeah, it helps in recovery because it
Yeah.
stops obsession for me. So I know this is how much I'm eating and this is my
Right.
meal.
I mean,
So in recovery, yes, but to the point of being in recovery, one day clean isn't recovery.
Right. And so in the
That's a
beginning, it's
diet.
working on why. Why am I doing what
Right.
I'm doing? And more importantly, why am I lying about it? Why am I not telling the truth? What's happening inside of me that I don't feel comfortable walking into a meeting and say, yeah, like Karen does every day. Yeah, I used, right? Or every other day. I used. Okay.
You justify the fact that you're overeating stuff that you're allowed to eat,
Right.
and not something that you're not supposed to eat.
And-
You're justifying it as it's okay.
And we call that a lie.
But I do think of it as a lie.
And
Some
I
people
know
want
it's
it.
Like,
neither
I
do I.
really-
I agree.
I
agree.
didn't think it was. I really did not think I was lying.
Okay, listen. So we're gonna step back. Okay, so you didn't think that you were lying, or you didn't want to recognize that you were lying, right?
I mean-
so wait, let me just ask you. And so instead of using the word lying, how about if I say to you, did you know that you were keeping it a secret from me?
Well, I had told other people.
Did you?
before.
I'm gonna ask you this again. Did you know that you were keeping it a secret from me?
No.
When we go around and I talk to you guys and I ask you how you are and how you're doing, did you ever say, I just want to let everybody know that I'm overeating and I need some help?
Yes, I had said that before.
Here?
Like after a meeting, like when you and I and Ashley had talked, I would say, "Oh, I think I'm like overeating, or I'm thinking very compulsively about
I think
food."
you told me that. I think you and I were talking.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't believe that you and I ever had that conversation, just because as a medical person, I mean, as one of my patients, you're not my patient, but the first thing I would tell a patient is, you're going backward. And what's going to happen is those behaviors are going to take you back to regaining that 150 pounds. That's my stock answer, right? And at least that if you needed help, to reach out, to make sure. And you know how I give you challenges? I would have given you a challenge about that. So if you were coming in here, and saying, hey, you know what, like, I'm overeating, I have a problem, I'm overeating and I don't know how to fix it, we all would have worked with you on fixing that. Can we do that for you? Of course not. Can we help you out with some suggestions? Yeah. Can we try to find out what it is that's eating you and putting you in that position where you're overeating? How do you feel after you overeat?
I feel like
Does it worry you or not?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
it makes you feel worried.
yeah.
Right. Do you, before you overeat, do you tell yourself that you're not going to?
Mhm.
Yeah, you tell yourself that you're not going to overeat today, right?
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I'm not going to overeat today.
Right.
And you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go to bed, do you feel a little guilty about it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you wake up ashamed in the morning about it?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or scared?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's active addiction. Because remember, when we talk about that, anytime I'm doing some type of behavior that I promised myself I wasn't going to do, and I do it anyway, and I go to bed guilty, and I wake up ashamed, and I do the same thing over and over again, I'm in active addiction. Right? If I put my hand on the stove and I burn my hand, and I say, wow, I'm never going to do that again because I got hurt. Right? When I go to bed, I don't think about it. Today I made a mistake. I wake up tomorrow and I don't put my hand on the fire. If I put my hand on the fire and I burned myself, and I said, well, I'm not going to do that again, and for some reason I feel a little guilty, and I wake up ashamed of my behavior, and that afternoon I go and turn on the stove and put my hand on the stove, I have a problem. Right? There's something that's out of my control at the moment. Right? Because my brain knows not to put that hand on that fire. Correct? Mm-hmm. It's gonna. I'm gonna get hurt. You know, when you overeat, you're an intelligent thinking woman. So cognitively, you know, overeating once isn't going to happen once because it's not happening once, is it? Did it happen once in the last 6 months, or did it happen more than once?
Yeah, more than once.
Yeah, of course. And so you know that that behavior will in turn make you sick, right? Cause you pain. And you're doing it anyway. And so we need to find out why it is that you're doing it anyway. Because you're not overeating because you need to overeat, right? So you're stuffing something. And so the honesty part of that is to say, I'm overeating, I don't know why, but that is what I'm doing. Let me figure out why. Let me get some help and figure out why, so that tonight I don't have that physical craving, that mental obsession to do the same thing again. That's why the honesty part is so important, you guys. First of all, once we tell on ourselves, it makes it a little bit harder to do because it's out there, right? But it's also us, we get to take a look at ourselves and say, why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? If I'm not talking about it with somebody that can help me, it ain't changing. Okay, I used to tell, my drug dealer that I knew that I had a drug problem. I wasn't telling my friends or the people that I worked with. I was just telling my drug dealer, you know what I mean? Shit, I really need to stop doing this. I need to stop doing this. It's so expensive and it's making me crazy and whatever, right?
So what would the drug dealer say back to you?
How much money you got? And how many do you want? That's what my drug dealer would say back to me. And so you're your own drug dealer. Yeah.
So when it comes to the food, it's very insidious as well, because when you look at an addict, I'm an addict. So one is never enough and a million is just never enough. Once I start...
One is too many.
One is too many.
Meaning that after we take the first one, we have no control over the second or the third or the 1,000th.
So it's a
Angela's
thinking...
laughing.
Yeah, I have my own spin, okay. So I'll swap one addiction for another. And I'm having a conversation with a friend last night at NA, how so many people in NA will pick up cigarettes, and I did. For me, it's a control issue. When it comes to the food, it's either control of either eating too much or eating too little, and it's swinging on the same pendulum. So it becomes a control issue. So it's easy to swap one addiction for another. So instead of eating, I could smoke. Or instead of smoking cigarettes, I could smoke marijuana, or I could smoke or do something else. But the mind doesn't change. The mindset is exactly the same thing. So the reason, the mindset is, instead of dealing with the feelings, and the reason why I'm picking up so I don't need to deal with them, and I can change them, I get a certain effect. So instead of dealing with that, I can shift my thinking into, oh, I need this, or it gives me 5 minutes to relax, so I can shut the chaos out.
I deserve this.
I deserve it, or whatever thoughts I'm going through. It's been a hectic day, it's been a bad day. You said something wrong, or it's Tuesday. Whatever it is, I can justify why I'm doing it. And I can go, well, do you know what? At least I'm not smoking crack and I'm smoking cigarettes and I'm not eating. And it becomes that whole mindset again. So it's not so much the substance, because
it's never the substance.
It's the same
it's never
process.
The substance.
It's the thinking behind it of why we do those things. So when I would go through my binge eating, it wasn't that things tasted so good, because after the first 5 bites, I'm not tasting anything. I'm just shoveling food into my mouth. And then I become uncomfortable and I'm sitting in pain because I'm stuffed and I'm overfull, and I can do that on anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy foods, but it's not the food itself. It becomes the process and the thinking. It's that thinking of being so disconnected from what I'm actually doing that I'm not present, I'm not enjoying it, and it becomes a mechanical process rather than sitting down and enjoying a meal and eating and getting up and doing something else.
Or sitting down and enjoying the moment, you guys. Because remember, again, everything that you just said was how every time you pick up on a lie. Right? And so when we're lying to ourselves and we're lying to everybody else, we're not real happy. Right? Those are the lies that we tell ourselves. And also, when you talk about that addictive process is the same for every single person with every single substance, no matter what that substance is. And that's really important, you guys, because we tend to see the overeating or the binging or purging, again, as no big deal. If I shoot up, that's a big deal, right? Oh, everybody, we talked about that yesterday. I'm like, if I come in and I tell everybody that last night I shot up, is someone gonna say, oh, you slipped? No, they're gonna say, you know what, call the treatment center and get your ass back in there because you had a relapse. But with food, we come in and we say, oh, I slipped. You didn't slip. There's nothing nice about it. You used, which means there's some kind of challenge that you're not looking at. It's not a bad thing to say I used, just honest.
Well, like, where's the line?
What line, baby?
That's a good question.
Yeah, this is a great question.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, I'm getting frustrated because I'm like,
I know. What line?
Okay. Talking about overeating, right?
What is overeating? Tell me what overeating is.
I don't think I fucking know. I think it's like, it's habit number
That's
one.
honest.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
really.
Yeah,
That is honest.
absolutely.
Like, I don't.
Okay,
No,
you
like-
don't, but you know that you're doing it. So tell me what you think it is.
Like, okay, so I eat and I'm like, okay, I'm full. But then I'm also like, oh, that piece of chicken looks really good. I'm gonna like have another bite.
Okay, so I eat and I'm satiated. Let's not even use the word full. I'm satisfied, right?
Yeah.
I'm satiated. So I ate and I'm satiated. I know that I've eaten enough calories, right? I also know that I'm post bariatric surgery, and so to stay healthy, there's a certain amount of food that I can eat, right? And so I've done that. Now I know, hey, you know what? This is where my story about this plate of food needs to end right here. But I don't do it. That's the overeating part. Why wouldn't you do it? For me, I don't overeat. I know how to undereat, but I don't really know how to overeat.
Well,
but
I can relate, and I'll tell you why.
Of course you can.
I'll tell you what, because when I look at a portion, it's not this size, it's not this size. I will eat till the plate is done, okay? And this was a problem before I started stepping into recovery. I needed tools to be able to say, this is what a portion looks like, and this is why I measure and I weigh things. That for me is, I know if I'm going beyond that, I'm overeating.
But she knows that too.
Right.
She said she knows that. Yes.
And I've never done that. And I know what a portion is too, based on, okay, I've eaten, I'm full.
Okay, so there has to be some point where you put a certain amount of food on your plate because this is how much I can eat, and after that you say I'm done.
Right.
But the overeating is the end result of what's happening here. This is the part that we need to understand, you guys. The picking up isn't the problem. The food, the alcohol, the opiates, it's not the problem. The problem is your thinking. The problem is what's happening to me that after I know that I'm doing something to keep me healthy, I can't keep it up. Why? Why is that? And the why is what we're going to get to as we do our step work.
I get what you're saying.
I have a question, Kylie. With the weighing and measuring, doesn't it govern you and give you an idea of your
But
intake?
it's not about that because she knows that. She knows when she's done eating. Her brain is still telling her to eat more.
Well, yeah, all of
Her
us,
brain
right?
is telling her, gee, I went to the dentist and he gave me a prescription for Percocet and I took one and I know that one whatever milligram Percocet is beyond that ain't gonna take care of the pain.
So
But I eat 15 of them anyway.
we had this discussion the other day. The days that I'll eat a meal and it feels like it went to my toes, that it didn't even touch my stomach. But it doesn't even feel like I ate anything. That's not about the food. That's about me sitting down and where I am and where my focus is and what's been going on. Because when I look, I know I ate something. It was on the
And-
plate and it's
And
gone.
Allison is honest. And
Right.
she said, I know I'm full.
Right.
I know that I'm full. I know that I've had enough food. You know that.
Mhm.
So you do. So it's getting to the, but why am I doing what I'm doing?
Why do I continue?
Yeah.
Because the first thing Haley ever said to me is, oh, at the end of a meal, I want to eat more, and at the end of the day when I'm done eating for the day, I want to continue eating. That's the deal. I mean, that's,
But it's not about the food.
It's not about the food though. So the deal is the
but
step
it's
that
how you
comes from.
feel relative to the food.
I understand. I understand. Just like I feel like having the next 15 Percocet after I have the first one. But that's not the problem.
But I guess
I know if I take one Percocet, that's enough.
Yeah.
So what is happening in my head that drives me to take the next 15?
I just don't think I see yet
Okay,
That
that was a good
I-
thing to say, you guys.
that I can look at food, have food in front of my plate or in front of me, eat it and say, okay, I've stopped.
Okay.
And then get to a point where I say, I'm not going to overeat because of these I don't see that point.
Yeah.
Like I don't see a point where because then all I see right now is I eat and I'm full, and then I'm like, okay, the plate's still in front of me, or I could go back to the refrigerator and I
Right.
get some more, even though I'm not hungry, but I'm like, I just don't see how I prevent myself from doing that. And sometimes I say, okay, so I'm gonna like use some tools and say, this is gonna lead me down this path, or I need to stop doing this because, I'm trying to be healthier, but I still do it.
I understand. And I'm going to tell you that as we get further along with our workshop, you're going to learn some better tools and understand why you're doing what you're doing. So remember, when we did our first step, we did that to understand about the food and the physical craving and the mental obsession. And as we go on, we're going to learn about our control issues. We're going to learn about how we take a look at the world. We're going to learn about our behavior, our feelings that drive our behaviors, so that we could learn to change our perspective, which will change our behaviors. So give it a little bit of time. You've spent your life doing a certain thing a certain way, right? So that's not going to stop overnight.
Yeah.
The fact that you're
Sure.
talking about it and you're honest about it already means that you're changing. When I said to you yesterday, have you been clean? You could have said, yep. You could have let that, I'm overeating, but I'm overeating the right stuff, but I'm overeating, right? You could have lied about that, but you didn't, right? So the way that you're dealing with things is already changing. You're being honest, and you knew we were going to have this big, huge conversation, right? About when you said what you said, but you said it anyway, and that's super important. I'm going to tell you this. We have a lot of people that watch this video. There are going to be a bazillion comments from people that have the same exact challenge that you do. And you just sharing that might have saved somebody else's life. And for that, I thank you. As a person doing my best to be in recovery, I thank you for that. It's going to come in time. It just doesn't mean that it's going to happen right now. But if you keep doing the work, it's going to get easier and it's going to get better.
I think those are great words, because I think I need to remember that, because sometimes I think this is not going to work for me, or it might not work for me, or this is just not my thing, or you know what I mean? There's doubt.
Of course
There's
there
doubt.
is. You just spoke the words of an addict, right? They say denial, it's not just a river in Egypt, right? And so remember, as long as I think that it's not going to work and this isn't for me, that gives me the perfect excuse to go get a prescription and use. That gives me that it's not going to work for me anyway. And really being clean isn't my thing, because I feel a lot better when I'm using. So let me go do that. And then what does my world look like then? And what will your world look like if you gain back 200 pounds? Right? And so that's the stuff that we're gonna get to. It's just you guys were addicts. We want to walk into this room, have a conversation, and say,
I'm fixed.
I graduated.
I'm done.
I'm
You got
done.
it.
Yay for me. Like, yay, gold star, and I walk around and I'm not an addict no more. And it just doesn't work like that, man. It's a lot of hard work. It's work that's well worth it. I can tell you my life is a whole lot nicer when I'm in recovery than it is when I'm in active addiction.
You
I
see,
can promise you that.
I thought I took the pill. I went for weight loss surgery.
I took all the pills.
Right, but I went for weight loss surgery. I thought it was done, it was over, would never have to worry about the food and what I ate or any of that after the surgery. And it's not like that. That just opened up the door. That became another tool within my toolbox. But everything else is we're striving for progress. We're not going to get that perfection. We didn't get to this place overnight, and we really are not going to get this fixed in 1 second.
Right, the surgery isn't the fix. It's not. The surgery just makes it so you can't eat a whole bunch of stuff in the beginning. But it's not the fix because the surgery has nothing to do with our mindset. Do people do fabulously after surgery? Yeah, they do. Do people lose 150 pounds, 120 pounds,
sure.
100 pounds, whatever? Of course they do. But if the thinking doesn't change, the behavior does not change. And those are all of the patients that I have, which we talk about, that are 3 years post-surgery, and they've gained back 150 pounds. They've gained back 20 pounds more than they ever lost. And they don't know why. And it's because their thinking didn't change, so their behavior didn't change. Right? Their perspective. You know, we say thinking, and actually I'm going to switch it a little bit to our perspective. The way that we look at things. Right? Because our perspective is what changes our thinking. So the way that we look at things. And I think I did, I'm not sure if it was you that I challenged yesterday, but whenever, so you guys, they say a grateful addict will never use, they say that in AA. And I was like, wow, when I relapsed, I was grateful, man. I had a great car, I had a great family, I had great kids. I was grateful for a whole lot of stuff. I was grateful for all the money that I was making. I was grateful for, you know, but I wasn't grateful for my recovery. And so I believe truthfully, a person that's grateful to be in recovery won't use. And so I will challenge you, anytime you're going to overeat, before you overeat, I want you to keep a notebook at your table or wherever it is that you eat. And when you're going to overeat, write down 3 things that you're grateful for as a person in recovery. And have an idea of what your future looks like as a person in recovery. Question.
Just 1 second. I see a lot of people join us on Facebook, and one of the things is, how do we get into the conversation? To start really working on recovery means we need to start talking. We created an online platform through Zoom that is free. We can hear your voice. You can ask your questions. You can join us in this room by logging into Zoom. It's on our Facebook page, While Wait for Recovery Facebook page is the link under events. Get into the room. It's one of the ways.
Yeah, you could be right here with us, you guys.
And that question.
That information is always up on our Why Wait for Recovery page. Yes, ma'am.
Lou says.
Lou?
Yes.
Hi, Lou.
Hi, Lou.
It's true. My mind still looks for food to help me when life is upsetting. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah, so awesome. So what you're saying is you're an addict in active addiction. And so whether you're looking for the food or the substance, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. First thing that you just said was that you're honest with you. Is Lou, can I ask Lou, is Lou a food addict or an everything addict or has worked on some type of addiction?
I'll let you know when he answers.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to quickly do a quick
Sure,
shout out because
sure.
we've got
We're
so
waiting.
many people who are
Absolutely.
joining
We're
us.
gonna
I
talk
just
to
want to say
Tanya
hi
and
to
Lucy.
Angel, Dana, Tracy, Karen, Lori. Just hi guys, and to the people who are overseas, hi. It is so great seeing you. And Lou is hi Lou as well.
Like romper.
Food.
Said food.
Food. Okay. And so, like anything else, the thing with addiction and any kind of addictive process or using anything addictively is that you got to get some recovery. And getting some recovery is being involved with the community, whatever that community looks like. Our community is specific for binging, overeating, emotional overeating. That's what Why Wait for Recovery is here for. But getting involved, food. challenges with food, getting involved with your community. So one of the things that you could do is, if you can't do it for this meeting, please do it for next meeting. Go up on Zoom and join us. You know, ask us your questions. Be here with us in the room. There are people that are here to help you, to help you help yourself.
Be part of the discussion. Have a voice. At this stage, we have messages from you guys, but here, being in the room, it's a different dynamic. You have a voice, and we are also doing a different kind of setup from next week. But
I love the concept of graduating.
Yeah.
And I have to say,
Yeah, you and me both.
When I came here this morning and I went through the Turnpike Sun Pass thing, I drive through and highway to hell. I've been laughing ever since.
how are you
Yeah.
doing today, Johnny?
Well, I mean, since I'm the Kevin Spacey of the group here.
First of all, Kevin Spacey is one of my most favorite
Me
actors
too.
ever.
Really?
Ever.
They molest one kid and everybody in the case.
Yeah, you know what? Ain't that the truth? But ain't that the truth, right?
No.
Inappropriate as it was, yes.
But yeah, no, I don't want to bring. I view.
I know, and so we talked about you know, setbacks as a setup for a comeback, right? That's more of your philosophy.
That also, I've kicked up what I'm doing a notch, and things happen
Okay.
when you do
But
that.
right, but nobody's pointing
I've
the
enrolled in
finger
a
or.
baking class.
Shit. So here's the thing. So yes, you had a relapse, and yes, whatever you call it, I call it a relapse. Whatever you call it's cool. For me, for out there, for this group, we're gonna call it relapse. I mean, for me, my sponsor would smack me across the head if I said last night I just did one Percocet, because you know, I had a hard day. So
I
there's.
know, but just to put things in perspective.
Yes.
Peggy said I was breaking and entering like this is a stigma.
Okay, so let's get over
Okay,
the
let's
breaking
take
and
that
entering
off.
thing because
Okay.
she was being
I was
sarcastic.
being sarcastic. It's
Yeah.
one of my
And-
personality
yeah.
defects, and
Yes.
I'm sorry if I hurt you.
No,
Stop
no,
it.
no.
Wow, a little codependent there, but that's okay.
Well, I heard my name. I jumped in. Sorry.
Yeah, so the break and entering, the thing is that you used. Okay, so that happened. So there ain't a effing thing we could do about that. It happened, right? Learn from your mistake and go forward. Or learn from the setback, let's call it, because it makes it easier for people. For me, I need to be told the way that it is. For me, it's like you fucked up, get yourself back on track and start over again. That's what I need to hear because that's my truth. There ain't nothing pretty about my relapse.
On the same hand,
Yes.
I don't know how well you got to know Dr. Bruce, but if I was discussing this with him and told him that I was going to be kicking something up a notch, he'd say, well, you know, all kinds of shit's going to happen if you do that. And so that's part of the deal. Stuff happens.
Oh, that's true. Stuff happens. I'm going to tell you that no matter what comes up in my life, if I use, my world falls backward. If I do. So for me, my recovery needs to be, I need to have my recovery needs to be like a straight line kind of thing without any deviation. I need to have rules and I need to be able to follow those rules because it's too easy for me to lie to myself about my addiction. Right? We're all liars. Guys, every one of you addicts, we're all liars. Because we lie to ourselves, we minimize what's going on, and we disrespect our addiction. I can't do that because my disrespecting my addiction means that I die or I get sent back to treatment in Tennessee. Neither one of those are pretty.
I have a question.
Sure.
Just so I understand, Johnny, you're saying that because you started like a new life journey or things, you maybe put yourself out of your element, automatically this relapse or setback was, you knew it was gonna happen.
No.
It could happen.
Anything
Something
could happen.
Okay.
I'm gonna-
I don't
Okay.
view this
Okay.
as terrible a thing as the room evidently does. You know, but you know, it did happen. Okay.
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 But you know, when you do something for every a reaction, there might be a reaction. Okay.
Might
And
be.
so there
Doesn't
wa-
mean there has to.
There was an accumulation of things that was going on that day, and
Andrew,
left
speak.
me exhausted and I
Speak.
screwed up, without beating it to the ground. But I understand what you're saying, but in many ways, something like that can propel you further.
May I say something in
Yeah.
response? But you said there was an accumulation of things that happened, so your relapse was the end result, but you had a choice, multiple choices to reach out or do something differently to help avoid what the end result.
I can't argue that, but
Girl.
And I say that
It
respectfully. I
seemed,
just,
what happened with me, as happens sometimes, it was quite robotic. It just kind of happened.
That's exactly the point. And I just want to say something. You know, I did things for my way, and it got me into the room. For so many years, for 42 years, I did it my way with my thinking, and whatever it was, whatever it looked like, it brought me into the rooms because it nearly killed me. It brought me to the point where I wanted to kill myself, where my body was just not doing what it should be doing, where I was sick and I was in pain, where my colon had exploded, where I had gone for surgery, where I had done so many diets, when I had done so many things because I wanted to do it my way, and it just didn't work. So all of a sudden I stepped into the rooms to do something totally different. And part of that is the thinking that got me here is the thing that I have to focus on changing, because it wasn't serving me. All it was doing was continuing to hurt me, and it kept taking me back to exactly the same point. So part of that was the lying to myself constantly that this was working.
Which is what allows us to relapse. Did you relapse?
I did.
So did I. So does it mean that relapse has to happen? No. Does it mean that I wasn't working my effing program when it happened? Yeah. Does it mean that there was stuff coming up for me, that I wasn't reaching out, that I wasn't talking to anybody, that I didn't have a sponsor, that I didn't, way before that relapse happened? Did opportunity meet? Did somebody put a prescription in my hand, or a lot of them, in my hand, and did I use because I had that effing excuse? Yeah. If I was talking about it and connected to a community and speaking to my community, is there a better chance that it wouldn't have happened? Yeah.
Did it make me a terrible person or a bad person?
No.
It made me do crazy, ridiculous things because of my disease when I'm in active addiction. I did things that I normally wouldn't do or didn't feel good for me doing if I was clean and healthy and not in that space. And I had other choices and other resources. When my mother died, I could have gone out and visited whatever I wanted to do and used that as an option, or had other choices of reaching a community and doing things differently. So all this does is we've got the ability to change our perspective and have different choices of the things that the end result looks like.
And Allie, I love you. Like, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. You are very intelligent. And I'm going to tell you, the smarter that you are, the harder it is to stay clean.
Why is that? I know that's true, but why is that?
Because we're smart enough to manipulate everything inside of ourselves and start talking the bullshit that we're talking in this room today.
We're brilliant
That
salespeople.
bullshit about, oh, it's inevitable that we're going to relapse. Bullshit. That bullshit with, okay,
It's
you know,
true.
yeah, I know.
Because
it's
I was
true.
like, I even like looked up research about like like how step work doesn't work for people. And how
Yay!
science, like,
Step work doesn't work. So let's not do step work and we could all use together. That'd be fun, right?
Do you know what one of her greatest skills is? Is debating skills.
Right.
I mean, look at this. We are
Right.
master salespeople, debaters. We can create arguments and reasons why, and they are so convincing and so compelling.
Overcome objections.
Exactly. So listen, so you don't get the answer that you want from me. So now you're gonna look to him to see if you could get the answer from the dude that just relapsed. Why? Because we know he had
Thanks.
recovery. Listen, because you relapsed, and I'm gonna say you relapsed because you were in recovery. Because you were speaking recovery and practicing recovery, your perspective had changed a whole lot. You weren't, no, Johnny, listen, you weren't the person, you weren't the person that didn't use for 2 days and kept calling it a relapse. You actually did a lot of work.
What do you not?
Just hear me.
All right.
So you did a lot of work. right?
I
And you
still
did
am.
great. Listen.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Stop talking,
Okay.
please. Okay? You did a whole lot of work, and you got to a place where you got to, and you didn't get to that place because it was so easy to do.
Right.
You got to that place because you worked really hard. And whatever happened, okay, you had a setback or a relapse, right? Now Allison is looking to you because, well, he's a guy, he's got recovery, and so if he can, and does that mean, and does that, don't look to somebody else for some reason not to do what it is that you need to do, no matter how much respect you have for that person, no matter how much respect you have for the work that they did or for the words that they said.
On the other hand, you could. My view is it didn't blow me out of the water.
That's fine, but it might blow somebody else out of the water.
Oh.
And your 3-hour relapse might be somebody else's death wish. And that's the truth.
All right, no, I'm
That was your truth. This girl should have died, man. I went to see her every effing day in the hospital. She should have been dead.
But
No
also-
matter what her excuse was.
But also, they may give you an excuse to do it again because
Thank
you
you.
could say, I did it and
Thank
I
you,
was
Lucy.
okay and I was ready. I was able to get back on program. So I could do this again because I
Very
can
good.
control it.
That's what I would do.
Those are the words of an addict,
Who's
you
an
guys.
active addiction?
Thank you, Angeli, who's an active addiction.
So you know they say that you'll find whatever you're looking for in the rooms. So if you're looking for someone, they say look for what you want. Okay, so someone who's got either the clean time, or if you're looking to use, you'll find a person who can justify your using. Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find.
Oh, 5
Oh,
minutes.
wow.
We need to check in with Lucy. How
Let's
are
see,
you?
Lucy.
Picking out what everybody's saying here. Like you were saying about emotion, I'm an emotional eater. I can sit down with my meal and eat my meal fine. I mean, my portion, I'm satisfied, and then my emotion that day, and I'm like, I need to grab something. I need to eat something. So I have my diet ice cream in the refrigerator, but I'm going to put chocolate chips on there, and I'm going to put almonds on there, and I'm going to put whipped cream on there. And
Diet ice cream might be a bit of an oxymoron, and we'll talk about that.
Why would
Alright.
you have that? Why would you have that in your house?
Oh, now that's like, now he speaks like somebody in recovery. Well, that's right. You're right. You're 1,000% correct.
You're allowed to have that on the
Who
program.
says?
The book that I read.
I don't care about the book. You're in the room. This, you just did what she did, what he did.
That's like heroin light.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. My Percocet, by the way,
Diet Coke.
is heroin light.
Right. All right. So I'll take.
Right.
So I'll take.
Oh, diet free.
So wait. So I have the sugar-free Jello.
We're not talking
I
about
have the
this.
sugar-free
Okay.
Jello, right?
Okay. Oh, fair enough.
And so instead of eating just that one, I'll eat 2 and fill it up with whipped cream. This is what happens to me, but I do it when the emotions, you're talking about not feeling anything. I'm so, it just overwhelms me and I have to sedate it with something.
Okay.
Otherwise
First
I'm
of
going
all,
to burst.
I want you to say, and I choose to sedate it.
I choose to sedate it.
Because do you reach out?
No.
Right. You choose to be quiet.
So you're a monster like me.
You choose. This is really important, you guys. Luce,
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
need you to hear me.
Yeah.
You choose, instead of asking for help, you choose to use.
That
End
is
of
the biggest
discussion.
that's a big problem of mine, and it's been a problem of mine forever. That I never ask people
Okay,
for help.
stop. I want you to say this. In the past,
In the past,
I haven't asked for help.
I haven't asked for help.
Right now,
Right now.
I'm working on changing that.
Right now, I'm working on changing that.
Right now,
Right now,
for my future,
for my future,
I will do the best
I will do the best
to recognize when I need help
to recognize when I need help
and to reach out when I need help
and to reach out when I need help,
so that I could help myself out of active addiction.
so I can help myself out of active addiction.
Right, that's your mantra. You're going to write it down. I want it put on your wall somewhere.
Okay.
So reaching out, I think this is a great segue. We
Segue.
have Downsizing Weight Loss. It is on Facebook. In that, it is a closed group. This is the place to ask for help when we are struggling, post when we are using, post anything we need to our gratitude list, wherever we are, so we can start shifting our perspective, because perspective is everything. We also meet Wednesday nights from 9 to 10 Eastern Central Time.
Free meeting.
It's a free meeting. Get onto Zoom. If you're serious about your recovery, what are you willing to do to make yourself be successful and happy and to live a happy life means stepping into the room, getting to Zoom. It doesn't cost anything. And you also get to participate in these fantastic conversations.
You get to get beat up also.
There are a couple of things. Whatever it takes, do not pick up in terms of our trigger foods. We know what they are. They are the starches. They're very easy to detect. And no matter what the books tell you, you know what doesn't work for you. The other thing is our gratitude journals. 3 things we're grateful for every single day, and our strength for the day. It helps shift our mindset. We have a thinking disease. We need to shift our thinking.
How do you detect a starch?
Oh, that's a different. We'll talk about that.
And then we can discuss
Yeah,
on
we
Wednesday.
don't have to. Yeah.
So,
that is.
yeah.
Cheese sticks.
So-
Okay, we're gonna. Are we done?
Yes.
Okay.
Close.
So I want to thank. I'm going to read the promises from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because I can. If we are painstaking, Allison. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down that scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity, will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things, me, and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle those situations that used to baffle us. We suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we can't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? I don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and I'm so grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful for every one of you. My name is Felice.
I'm blessed and grateful for you, our outstanding community, for being in recovery, for my wonderful friends, and just have a beautiful week. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Recovery is awesome. Peace
Peace
out.
out, everybody.
What's self-seeking will refer to?
So the thing